Hello everyone, making another family history video for two reasons. I'm here at a different cemetery than I was last time. The first headstone I'm visiting is Aldridge, Mildred, and Robert, Bob and Mid. They were my great uncle and great aunt. He passed away in 2005. She passed away in 2017. Now, like I said, I was making this video for two reasons. One, more family history, and two, because every year 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, for 5 consecutive years, my family dealt with the passing of a loved one every year up until 2022. We didn't deal with anybody. We didn't have to mourn anybody's loss last year or so far this year. But yeah, primary reason is because I wanted to do another family history video, and the other reason is because I wanted to show everyone that just in those 5 years, it was just really difficult. The worst year of them all was 2018. I'll get into that. Okay, this is my grandparents. I called them my mom and papa, Drusilla and Thomas Leonard Dennison. She passed away May 26, 2018. She was the first death in our family that year. He passed away July 30th, 2018. He was the second death in our family that year. They were married for 52 years. I believe it was 52 years. So they got married. They both passed away in 2018. They got married January 14th, 1966. These were my father's parents. Like I said, 2018 was a very difficult year for my family. We had 3 deaths that year. And it was just really difficult. I'm going to get to the third person that passed away that year here in just a moment, but to lose them both in such a short time frame, was a little more than 2 months apart. It was just really difficult. She was 79, he was 75 respectively. Remember that year, she had a really bad stroke, literally like right after Mother's Day that year. I went to visit her at her house, and she told me that my papa, her husband, Tom, was put in a nursing home with dementia. And I asked her, I said, well, when's he going to come home? And she said, he's not. And like I said, literally right after that, she had a really bad stroke. She spent the next roughly 2 weeks in nursing homes and hospitals and at a rehab center. Actually, I don't think she was ever in a nursing home. I think she was in a rehab center, and she was in a hospital the night she passed away. Me and the rest of a good amount of my family were by her bedside. He was right down the hall in the same hospital. Didn't even know that his wife had passed away afterwards. This gentleman, John Howard Smith, was the third death in our family in 2018. He passed away about 8 days before Thanksgiving. He had 2 heart attacks in one day, and the second one was fatal. If you look, he was only 64 years old, and he was my dad's first cousin. So yeah, we lost both of his parents and his first cousin all in the same year. All of them passed away in about a little more than 6 months of each other. Yeah, that's why I said at the beginning of this video, 2018 was just a really difficult year for our family. Now, 2019, we had a death in the family. It was my mom's father, my grandfather, Ray Burns. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any way of showing you a plaque or anything for him because he was cremated and his ashes were spread, and I'm not going to disclose the location, but yeah, he was cremated, his ashes were spread, but he passed away in 2019. I don't know what caused his death. I do know he had really bad dementia towards the end. Kenneth James Rote. He was my mom's stepdad, my step grandfather. He passed away in 2020. I want to say he was in his 80s. Yeah, he was. If you look at the dates, he was in his 80s. He was in real bad health, and actually, my mom's mom, my grandmother, she found him having passed away in his sleep. I think if I remember, she told me. I believe he passed away in his sleep, and then we had 2 deaths, I believe, in my family in 2020. He was one of them, and I believe my Aunt Helen, well, actually my great Aunt Helen, my mama's sister, she passed away in 2020, I believe. I think it was from cancer, but I don't know where her headstone is. She's buried in the cemetery that I'm currently in, but I don't know where. And then Ellen May Poor was her maiden name. Rote was her married name, obviously. She passed away in 2021 at the age of 79. That was my mom's mom, obviously. And literally September 12th of that year, my mom called me, or my mom was over at her living residence, her apartment, and my mom said she had a really bad stroke. She looked at my mom beforehand and said, "I need you to call an ambulance. I think I'm having a stroke," or something like that. And my mom called an ambulance. They went to the hospital, and the next day, my mom called me and said, "Your grandma, my mom, had a really bad stroke last night, and she doesn't have much time. I'm letting you know so you can come up here and say goodbye." And I was somewhat confused. I was like, "Are you telling me that she's not going to live? She's going to pass away soon?" She goes, "Yes." So I immediately hung up the phone and bolted up to the hospital. And me, my mom, and my dad were by her bedside when she passed. Unfortunately, my brother didn't make it until a few minutes after the fact. Morningstar, Helen, my great aunt, and my great uncle Robert. I don't remember a whole lot about him. I do know I met him many times. It's just I wasn't around him a lot. Now I know I said I didn't know where this headstone was. I had been to it previous, but I had forgotten where it was. But she was of the 2 deaths we had in our family. She was one of the 2. Like I said, I don't remember which one was first. It was my mom's stepdad or if it was her, but she passed away from cancer. The reason, obviously, her name is different is because she married Robert Morningstar. The plaque that I showed you of the cremation of John Howard Smith, this headstone these were his parents. My dad's uncle and aunt, my great uncle and great aunt. I never met either one of them because if you can tell on the dates, I believe it says she passed away in 1983. He passed away in 1986. He was only 51 years old. I was told he died from cancer, just like my great aunt did. His sister. Yeah, they both passed away before I was even born, so I never met either one of them. But like I said, I'm doing this video for more family history and to show everyone that just how difficult the 5 consecutive years of deaths in my family were. Smith, Mabel Lee and William Howard. I think that was his first name. Now these were my great-grandparents. They were my dad's mom's parents. I was going to say something. Yeah, my mama, Dennison, the one that passed away in 2018, the first of 3 deaths that year in my family, these were her parents. I believe they had 4 children. Oldest was Harold, the one I just showed you guys. The next one was my mama, Drusilla. Then it was my great aunt Helen, and then it was my great aunt Brenda, who lives in Texas. Yeah, I wanted to show you this headstone for two reasons. One, because it's obviously part of my family history. Now, I never met him, obviously. It says 1969 is when he passed away. I never met him. He passed away long before I was even born, because my dad was only about a year old. But she passed away in 1995. I was 7 years old. I take that back. I was 6 years old, because I didn't realize she passed away in January of 1995. But maybe I was 7. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now, but somewhat of a funny story. I believe she had Alzheimer's in her old age. One time, I was told this story by my mama, her daughter. She said, one time when you were 3 years old, she said, we took you to visit her. You know, some family members went to visit her. And she's like, your mama, Smith, she looked at you and said, Dustin, how old are you? And I told her I was 3. About a few minutes later, because her mind was gone, she said, Dustin, how old are you? And I said I was 3. A few minutes later, she asked again, Dustin, how old are you? And she said, you snapped and said, I done told you twice, I ain't going to tell you again.